Hey, hello everyone. Thank you for joining. Before we start, I'd like to get a feel for your thoughts on agents based on what you know right now. So we have a little poll on the screen just here. There's a QR code on the side there that if you scan that on your phone, you don't need to download any apps or anything. It takes you straight to the question. I wonder if you could scan that code and just give us your thoughts on what you know of agents or agentic technology at the moment, perhaps based on things you might have heard, things you've read, things you've seen out in the market, other opinions that you might have heard. So yeah, please vote for something on there. Don't be afraid if you don't know what you're looking at. I haven't got the foggiest idea is a perfectly acceptable answer right now as well. Okay, so there's a bit of a pattern coming out there. That's good. A little bit of mystery around what agents are about, but there is certainly some recognition that it's going to be an important tool for the future. So that's really worth knowing. Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining. My name is Daniel Fox. I'm part of the marketing team here at Mercury. Being a tech company and being so close to Microsoft in particular, we spend a lot of our time looking at tech and building the latest tech developments for our clients. One of the biggest topics right now is agents or agentic AI, or some people call it agentic processes. We're hearing a lot of good things in the market at the moment. We're also hearing a lot of noise, and quite frankly, we're hearing simply some incorrect statements and opinions about agentic technology and what it can do, what it looks like, and so on. And that's not fair on you, as someone who's perhaps not a tech expert, not a tech company who's looking at buying and implementing tech in their business. You need to have a good, strong, solid opinion that's based on some facts. So the reason for this webinar, and I guess the objective of the session today, is to cut through the jargon. It's to look past all the hype, the over promises, and actually to debunk some myths about agentic technology, and hopefully give you some more information and a few practical use cases on how they could find their way into your businesses in the future. I'm going to jump into another quick poll. We're not going to do these throughout, but I'm just keen to know what you think and how you see agentic technology before we really break into the rest of the presentations. If you've done the earlier poll, this will appear on the app for you straight away. If you haven't, then just scan the code. This one I'm really keen on because this is trying to break down some of the mythology and some of the things which are perhaps being said and understood about agents. So the question is, I think agents are, and again, please feel free to click on as many of these as you think. Okay, some good movement there. I'm going to stay off screen for a bit. Some of you will be pleased to know, as this gives us probably a good opportunity to sort of work through this list a little bit and deal with some of these myths that I keep talking about, and put a few things straight, hopefully once and for all. As you've probably guessed from the title of this session, the answer to a lot of these questions is agents are not some of the things on this list. But as usual, there's a little bit of it depends going to be thrown in for good measure as well. Let's start with chatbots first of all. An agent or agents are not chatbots. Those things that appear in the bottom right hand corner of a website are not agents. Now, an agent might use a chatbot interface to communicate. You might be able to type, you might even be able to speak to an agent, but it's not the same thing as a chatbot. A chatbot typically follows scripts or different routes, and there's a predetermined path quite often to solving the problem or giving the information that you require from a chatbot. Whereas agents think for themselves in order to pursue a particular goal. An agent will make decisions, it will take actions, and an agent can even adapt over time. So in looking at it through the context of a chatbot, you could talk to an agent, but equally you might not communicate with an agent at all. In fact, most of the agents that you might come into contact with going forward, you may never communicate directly with, and we'll give some examples of that a bit later on. It's also not, and I spoke about paths earlier, and I'm going to jump down to the ITT, if this, then that logic. It's not a predetermined, pre-programmed set of steps or a decision tree model that's predefined or laid out for you. Again, I'm going to contradict myself a little bit here, because agents can include conditional logic, but they're not limited to that. So it's not a rigid workflow. An agent can assess some context, it can weigh up options, it can adapt based on different outcomes. So it's not looking for triggers like an if this then that statement. It's not waiting for something to happen always in order to be triggered. It's monitoring situations, it's looking at outcomes and adjusting accordingly. It's not glorified automations. Automations, again, could be one of the tools that an agent uses, but agents are more outcome focused. They're not task doers. Agents will coordinate, they respond, they'll optimize things based on a much broader objective. So although it is automating or mechanizing some of our processes, it's a far more powerful tool than traditional automation. It's not the same as Mercury Automate. It's not as Zapier Workflow. It's not Herefish, or it's not any of the other automation tools that are out there. It's also not an end-to-end singing and dancing multitasking tool. Okay, this is a really important myth that I'm really keen to push aside, because I've seen people talking about an agent as if there's one tool that's going to cover the entire recruitment workflow or the entirety of what a recruiter does every day. And that's just not true. Yes, agents can do an entire recruitment workflow, but it won't be one agentic tool. It would have to be hundreds of agents all working together. And again, I'll come on to that in a little while about how the agents will all work and be codependent and work alongside each other. Agents don't have to be AI either. Now, you're going to ask, surely everything at the moment is AI nowadays. But the truth is that an agent doesn't have to be AI for it to be an agent. It could be a script. It could be something that's scheduled to run. It could be some kind of rules-based bot that monitors a situation, looks out for something, and then takes action accordingly. So in the context of staffing and recruitment, think about compliance or timesheet submissions as a couple of simple examples where it may be looking out for something to happen and then act when it does happen, or if it doesn't happen, then it can take some action. The agent may use AI models, but they're not AI features. So unlike ChatGPT, an agent doesn't just generate answers. It's going to be making decisions. It's going to be taking action. It's going to be learning from the results. It's also a myth that agents can only be useful in large businesses and large enterprises. Agents can definitely offer big wins for companies at scale, but they can also help you scale. They help you to reach more people. It can help you do more things. So arguably, they're just as valuable, perhaps even more valuable for smaller teams, because they can multiply your capacity. They can extend your capabilities without you needing to add extra headcount or extra overhead into your business. And I really do mean multiplying capacity. Someone recently said to me, what if I gave you 100 people? That's what an agent is like. What would you do with those people in your business? That's the power and the scale that agents can provide. But agentic technology is giving those 100 people a purpose. it's giving them tools, and it's giving them freedom, but with the right guardrails in place to get there efficiently. So they're going to get to their goal. We're giving them the agency to be able to do that. An agent in our tech world will operate in a very similar way to a human. It'll be able to perceive information and have the tools and the agency to act. And I've said agency twice just then, and that's a really key word here. When we have agency to do something, we have permission, we have capability to act. And that's really what agents are about. It's about having that capability and the permission to be able to act on something in a far more dynamic way than perhaps automation and the things that we're used to. Why is this important? We know the importance of processes in our business already, but let's take an example of that. We're running a manufacturing business that's baking loaves of bread, right? And if we're doing that, I would say there's a really good chance that we wouldn't have all of our staff doing every part of the process all at once, right? To whatever time frame that might suit them best, right? It'd be chaos, okay? Some people would be better at certain tasks than others. We'd have loads of different sized loaves of bread. They'll all be cooked to different recipes. They'd all be very, you'd have some burnt, some undercooked. No doubt some would be made fast, but some might be made considerably slower than others. It would be chaos, right? At best, it wouldn't be a good use of those people's time or resources. Right? We know this already. So instead, we have production lines in place. We put a production line in so that we can follow a process. We have specific people or machines doing specific tasks. Some of it's automated and mechanized. We also have humans doing certain parts of the role that are most relevant. As a result, we get these perfectly baked loaves delivered to us every time because we're following a process and we're working in a uniform fashion. Now, there's a slight difference in recruitment, particularly those who operate a 360 model, where very often we do have every member of the staff, certainly every fee earner, doing every part of the workflow. They're experts at everything and having to do every single part of the workflow. These are basically special agents. Here he is. So you've got special agents in your business. They are people who are multi-talented. They've got many, many skills, right? But in the case of James Bond, right, he is a special agent. He's pretty unique, though. He's the fastest driver. He's the best marksman. He's the best fighter. He's the most charismatic, the best tactician. Of course, he's fictional. This perfect person doesn't exist. But even if they did, they're not scalable. They make mistakes, they get sick, and they have all the frailties and problems that come with being a human. There are things that they just can't do. There are things that take too long. There are things that, quite frankly, that we need them to do that they simply aren't any good at, or aren't a good use of their time to be able to deliver. And this is where agents will help. You might remember earlier I said that they're not a multitasking tool, right? So one agent is not a James Bond recruiter. We do need to understand that. We are not talking about having, here's your recruiter agent and that's all your problems solved. We have to think of it in the same way that we don't have a car manufacturing machine. You have individual machines all working alongside each other, each one concentrating on its own piece of the process, each one concentrating on its own objective. So we've all seen the pictures of these robots, a bit like what we're seeing here, where it just comes in, it does that one weld, and it does it all day, every day, perfectly, every time, 1,000 times a day. It's not doing anything other than that one job. And that's really how we need to be thinking about agents within our production line. Doesn't like this video. There we go. But just like any production line, and let's think about recruitment in the same way. all the different jobs in a recruitment business can be looked at in that similar way, with an agent doing a different or very specific part of the recruitment process. Each agent is purpose built to achieve that specific outcome and to be able to make its own decisions, okay, within a defined scope, but it'll be able to make its own decisions based on the objective that you're setting it. It also works alongside others to complete those bigger tasks. Okay, I've said before, each agent works alongside and in collaboration with each other. So to give an example of what I mean by that, we might have our applicant screening agent just here. So the applicant screening agent, might be that's working to screen our applicants, but it might recognize that it doesn't have enough applicants for a role. So rather than just sitting back and not dealing with anything, it could trigger our candidate sourcing agent, a search and match agent, to go off and find other candidates for our process. So the agent is doing its very specific role, but it's looking to the left and to the right to be able to influence what's going on around it, but helping it achieve its objective. If its objective is to screen 10 candidates for this role and it only has 5 applicants, then it can go off and talk to another agent in order to get those extra applicants or find those extra candidates that it needs in order to be able to fulfill its own objective. It's worth pointing out that each agent is likely to be made up of individual component agents, right? Each have their own specific objectives and they're all working towards a common goal. So our agent process up there in blue is coming together, made of other pieces of other parts of the process, other component parts, and it's coming together with other agentic processes in order to create a full end-to-end workflow. So this is where you might have heard the term swarms of agents, where you have agents all working together, a bit like bees in a hive. They're all working together in order to achieve the goal, but each individual agent has its own specific job to do, but it all adds up to the bigger workflow. So a staffing firm of the future is likely to have dozens, probably hundreds of agents all working together, working alongside each other and working in consideration of each other. Each agent is driven by its own goal or its own objective, and it's got permission to act and make its own decisions. Here's an example of a workflow with getting on for a dozen agent processes in here. So we can start to see now it's not one thing, there's lots of things stitching together. If we start at the bottom down here, we have an open vacancy or an open job order. Our search agent will look for candidates. Now it could then hand off to an outreach agent to contact those people. At the same time, up here, we've got applicants coming in for the role. Now, they will all come together when we get to our candidate suitability agent, right? This is the start of the screening process. And that's really what I want to highlight here, is taking a closer look at this section. We have 5 agents in this section, all working together to screen our candidates. The first part is looking at suitability. Those who aren't a good fit, they might be handed over to the knockout agent to decline that candidate. Those who are a good fit could go to our QA agent, and that QA agent is going to get in touch and ask specific questions of the candidate. The screening agent here will stay in the loop because it's looking for the right answers from the QA agent so that it can check suitability. If it's not getting the right answers or needs more information, then it might go back to the QA agent and ask the QA agent to get some more information or get some clarification on something, just like you might do in an interview. At the end of our screening process, it will hand over to a scoring agent that will help identify the strongest candidates that we've got in the process for our role. Now, you may or may not choose to work in that way, but the purpose of that illustration is to show you how different bits of one process are being done by different agents. Okay, each one is a specialist. Each one is operating on its own with its own goals, but it's working in consideration for those all around it. So I hope that gives you a bit of a background into agents. Let's now think about how it can really deliver something new. Let's think about candidate updates. Okay, let's say we want to keep our candidate database up to date. We've got 90,000 people on our database, and let's say we have 3 consultants, each making 100 calls per day. It's going to take you more than 300 days to call all 90,000 people. Okay, so it's over a year, and that's without factoring any failed calls, no answers, voicemails, duplicate records, and of course those sort of second and third passes that you might need to do on through the list to be able to get hold of people. So let's give that list to an agent, a candidate updater agent, that can perhaps use SMS, text, WhatsApp, could use voice. The candidate updater can have hundreds of conversations at a time, and it can reach out to our 90,000 candidates in the database in a fraction of the time that our humans could, right? So it cuts it down to just a few days because it can have so many conversations. And it's going to do it at a cost of probably around something like 8p a record. So there's a huge cost saving there, right? There's 3 annual salaries, let's say 3 consultants. Let's take the 3 annual salaries versus a few £1,000s to get the job done. But the cost saving isn't really the interesting bit here. The interesting bit, and let's be honest, this job probably isn't being done right now anyway. So it's not a true saving in that respect. But the interesting bit is in the opportunity that comes from having this up-to-date information. How much more successful would you be if every candidate record on your database was clean and up to date? What if our candidate updater, while making all of these calls and having these conversations, what if our candidate updater finds someone that's looking for a role? Now remember, agents work together. So it hands it over. Oops. It hands it over to a vacancy search agent to check if we have any suitable roles for that candidate. It can hand it over to a matching agent or a sales prospecting agent to find some suitable clients that you can spec out that person to. So remember, this is someone that your consultants wouldn't have put a call into otherwise. They wouldn't even know that they were looking. There's revenue in your CRM right now that just isn't being touched. And something as simple as a candidate updater is not only going to give you better information that your team can use in searches and matching candidates on a day-to-day basis, but it could also uncover opportunities that are in your database already. So this is where it changes the economics for recruitment firms. Okay, there is money being left on the table at the moment just because we don't have the technology or the scalability to be able to uncover it. So now I'd like to talk about something that may be on your mind. Let's hope that you like the idea of agents. And obviously we live in a world now where we talk a lot about low code, no code. You might be wondering, can I build my own agents? Oops, there we are. Can you build your own agents? In theory, yes. In reality, you probably won't. Here's why. Tech companies like Mercury are already working pretty hard behind the scenes to build agent processes and bring them to market. So you don't have to start from scratch with any of this stuff. We are looking across the whole recruitment life cycle and the recruitment workflow. So that might be manual shortlisting, screening I've mentioned earlier on, follow-ups with candidates and with clients, onboarding, data enrichment, putting more inside your CRM, compliance, all different parts, you name it, we're sort of looking at those different areas. We're building agents so that they work alongside those others. They don't work independently. And probably most importantly, that they use your data in the best possible way. The way I see it, outside of your specialist software like Mercury, buying agents is likely to become a little bit like buying apps, a bit like how you would do on your phone. There'll be a selection, almost like an app store, or a bit like Microsoft's app source, where you can go and choose the apps that best suit your needs. They'll be configurable, they'll be ready to deploy, they'll be designed to slot into your processes without a massive lift from your side. And I think that's the direction that we're likely to go, is we will make different agents available and you can deploy them into your business how you see fit. Agents aren't a one size fits all. You're not just switching on an automation. You're giving an agent a goal, you're giving it a set of parameters, you're giving it access to your data, and then it's going to go away and act on your behalf. So it's really important to remember that the quality of the outcome is going to depend very heavily on what the agent has access to. What data can it read? What systems can it connect to? What's the clarity of the goal that you've given it? So for within your CRM, within your ATS, within your recruitment software, I think it's very important that you work with the agentic technology that we provide you with. Outside of that, you might find that you're able to use other agents and different tools that are available on the market. I also think it's going to see a bit of a shift in the commercial model as well. Rather than paying for a flat license or a per user per month type subscription that we see at the moment, agents might be priced based on some sort of consumption model. Now that might be usage, it might be deliverables, it could be based on outcomes. Every time you place a candidate, that brings you pay for the agent at that point, for example. That actually presents a bit of a challenge for us as vendors. For example, an agent that processes applicants, if I said it's 10p a time to process an applicant, that might sound great. But what if you get thousands of rubbish applicants coming through? You're not going to want to have a pay-as-you-go model without having some kind of control or ceiling in place. So there's still some work to be done, and I think we still need to all look at this about how we make sure we get that pricing structure and the commercial side of things right for everyone, so that you have a model where you know that you're working within the right sort of cost parameters, but you're getting the enormous benefits that the agentic technology can provide. And that's the exciting bit. You get to decide how and where you deploy them in your business. It doesn't have to be an end-to-end workflow. It could just be specific functions, specific roles within your business that you want it to do. It might be to take up the slack of certain things. It might be to remove error from other parts of your process. You can start small, you can test, you can scale, and do this wherever it makes sense to you. So my advice on that is, don't make it about features just yet, right? Keep your thinking about recruitment. Keep it about strategy, and look at your processes now and say, right, can a smart agent do this task any better? Can it do it faster? Could it do it more consistently than a person is doing that at the moment? Can it do it at scale? Can we have 100 conversations at a time instead of just one? Those are the questions that I would think are the ones that are going to help you really unlock the value of agents and agent processes. And of course, there is the obvious question that's kind of loitering around in the shadows, I'm sure, which is, will this replace recruiters? My answer to that is not necessarily. This is where technology really does free up your recruiters to do what humans do best. If you run a business where recruiters are spending their time formatting CVs, running searches, cleaning data, checking compliance, the backwards and forwards of booking interviews, chasing for interview feedback, that's where agents are going to be able to step in. That's where they're really going to be able to help you. That's where they're going to be able to multiply your capacity and allow you to get much more done. Can you then redeploy your people to do more profitable things? Yes. Can it help you scale without increasing the number of people in your business? Definitely. In every recruitment firm, there's hundreds of hours lost every month to invisible admin and stuff that's going on. Every one of those hours gives you an opportunity for an agent to step in. I don't think the future of recruitment is about having more consultants. A good recruitment business won't be judged on how many people you've got anymore. It's about having smarter systems. It's about having augmented consultants. And it's definitely about having smarter outcomes and faster outcomes than you have today. But all of that is still thinking about staffing in the same way that we always have. Look at your business and say, can I improve or differentiate or diversify our service using agent tech? The answer to that is 100%. You can. That's what this is going to give you the opportunity to do. And the firms that are leading the way with this technology, or leading the way with technology generally, are the ones that are quietly pulling ahead. And we haven't really seen the start of agentic technology and agentic processes yet. But the companies that are already thinking about this, the companies that are already deploying platform technology in the right way, are the ones that are moving forward fastest. They're seeing more placements per head, better margins, and faster time to fill. And they're doing it all without hiring more people. So again, think about what your own growth path looks like. What is your plan for the future? Is your plan to add more consultants? Because I think this is where we can look at that and challenge that thinking. Let's think about scaling your operations, having faster, more profitable outcomes, because that's what your competitors are going to be doing. And that's certainly the way forward with the technology that we're talking about here. That brings me to the end of the presentation. Thank you all for watching. I've been trying to keep an eye on the Q&A, but I've been fighting with PowerPoint for most of it. So we'll just have a little quick look in there. I have got our CTO, Richard Liddington, on the call, just in case anything got a bit too technical. But let's just have a little look in the Q&A. I see someone's doing a good job of selling an AI note-taking tool. Richard, have we got anything in the Q&A?
No, there's no questions in there.
No? Okay. Fair enough. Well, that really does leave us at the end then. Thank you all once again for watching. I hope you got something useful from the session. We'll follow up. There's the bits that should have come up earlier. There we go. We will follow up with an email shortly, including a link to the recording, should you want to watch it again or share it with anyone. If you are interested in hearing more or attending any of our events or workshops, then please follow us on LinkedIn on the left-hand side, or the right-hand side QR code there will take you to a sort of feedback form so that you can get in touch with us if you need to. Otherwise, thank you very much again for watching.